So I'm proud to let the press fraternity in Dharamshala to know that we have today with us a delegation of parliament members from Sweden, led by Ms. Sederfeld, and I would like to welcome the parliament delegation who have come all the way from Sweden to join with us today to celebrate the 63rd anniversary of Tibetan Democracy Day. And it gives us immense pleasure and honor to welcome you all. And it is your expression of solidarity with the Tibetan people. And it is all the more important for the Tibetans living inside Tibet that it is of their understanding, and it gives them a sense of hope that the Tibetans are not being forgotten by the world. So it is a matter of great pride for us. And so without further ado, I would like to request Ms. Sederfeld to kindly address the members of press. And after that, if any other members of the parliament would like to address the press, you are most welcome to do that. And we'll leave some time for the members of press to fill questions or pass their comments about on your visit. So I would request the members of press to, when you fill your question, keep your question specific and short, and then also identify yourself with your name and the press agency or the media agency that you belong to. Okay, now I would request Ms. Sederfeld to kindly address the press.
Thank you very much, sir. And thank you to the media. We are here as Swedish parliamentarian, members of a Swedish parliamentarian friendship group, the Swedish Tibet Parliamentary Friendship Group. We are a large group in the Swedish parliament with about 30 members, and those of us who are here today, we are 11 MPs from 4 different parties. We are looking forward to meeting with, yesterday it was a meeting with Honorable Sikong, and later tonight we will meet with Honorable Speaker, we will meet with members of parliament, we will also visit the Tibet Museum, we will meet with the Noblinka Center. We are here to both learn more but also to express our solidarity with Tibet. We are supporting the way of forward for Tibet that's already agreed by the Tibetan parliament on initiative by His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama. I would also say that to be here to take part in the celebration of the Democracy Day is absolutely amazing. Tibet have democracy, one vote, one person. Women and men have the possibility to run for position and be elected in the parliament. And as parliamentarian by ourselves, we think this is important to also to be part of the celebration. Thank you. Now we are very pleased to respond to any questions you might have. It's our pleasure. I can also say that we met with His Holiness Dalai Lama this morning, and it was a very positive meeting. It was a true honor to meet with him. And I think he said some very important words. Today, when there is a lot of wars all over the world, we could see that people are not seeking unity, more broken up. When he spoke about that, we are all human beings and we should cooperate, we should work together for peace. And I think that's a very important word that we need to hear more about today. And we also, as all of us as people, should think about those words because it's important. What can we do to support peace? We are all human beings and we live on one word. I think that was really great statements from His Holiness. I would also say that it was a true pleasure to be part of the celebration this morning, to see all the young people who wrote all their speeches and talked about their thought on democracy and their view on the future, but also the very good students who got awards and were recognized for their excellency in as students. I think this was really positive, because if for the future, the students, the young people are very important.
Thank you so much for your tireless help for the Tibetan cause. So first my question is, how does your group plan to engage with the Swedish Parliament and the government to advocate for the Tibetan-related cause?
As parliamentarians, we are working with the tools we have in the Parliament. It's of course debates. We are raising questions about Tibet. We are talking about Tibet. We have mentioned Tibet in our debates. I know that there is a lot of colleagues also have written bills on Tibet, but also working together with the Swedish Tibetan committee. That's also very important. And we are receiving guests from Tibet. Honorable Sikyong have visited the Swedish Parliament. We have had visits by parliamentarians. We have had visits from religious leaders. And I think that's also very important. And as MPs, we are active in our various constituencies and always speaking with people. I have a lot of, and so are also my colleagues, who have a lot of contacts with people all over Sweden. And we have discussions very often about democracy, about Tibet. It's coming up. Tibet have a lot of friends all over the world in democratic countries. And a lot of people are worried about the development in Tibet, the development for the Tibet people, also about the Tibet culture. And we are doing what we can as parliamentarians. And of course, we are raising questions when it's question time in Parliament. It's one question that are raised among a lot of others, because it's not only Tibet, but Tibet question is raised as well. When it's question time with our ministers, when it's question time with our governments. And after a visit like this, I am sure there will be more questions.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to fill in that my view is that a lot of Swedish people, you have a lot of strong supporters in Sweden, and both when it comes to Tibetan people, but perhaps especially His Holiness Dalai Lama. He's well respected in Sweden, and he has done a lot of great work when it comes to make people aware of what's been going on. And as Margareta said, what we can do as parliamentarians is to do our best within the parliament, of course, but also among Swedish citizens in general. Especially now, I would like to say, when it comes to that, for example, Taiwan is threatened as well. I mean, it's a golden opportunity to raise the questions about Tibet as well, and to make people aware of what's been going on for a very long time. So, yeah. Thanks.
Thank you.
And let me also mention, if in June, before the Parliament closed for summer, we had hosted a meeting arranged by the Tibet office in London, who gathered country-specific representatives in the Parliament, and the members of Parliament were also invited to take part in the meeting. And we had a very good discussion on the situation in Tibet, also for the Tibet Parliament in exile, but also what we can do in the various countries. This was the Nordic countries. What are the committees doing in the various countries, and how to cooperate with the Parliament. So I think the debate as such, the discussion, is very important. It's a way to raise awareness, to not let Tibet be forgotten. When it's quiet, that's never good. When it's a debate, when there is a discussion, that's a very positive thing.
Thank you. So my second question, first I forgot my introduce to myself. So I'm Janet from Voice of America. So my second question is, the Swedish government, people, and particularly the parliamentarians, are very supportive to the Tibetan cause. So I used to hear that Swedish NGOs helped the financial Tibetan community in the past, but because of some situations, I guess it stopped. So is there any other way to creating program project to sustain the Tibetan community? Is there any other way in order to sustain the Tibetan community, so that you can is there any programs that you can make?
This is a discussion that I think is important also for us to have back home with our agency, with our government, to see what can be done. But I think this discussion should also be held with the Tibetan people, because it shouldn't be something pushed from one area. I know that US are doing a lot of things for Tibet, both on a legal way, that the Congress and the Senate have adopted bills and also put writing in support of Tibet in their legal system, and that the former speaker, Nancy Pelosi, have visited Dharamshala, and I think that was a very, very important gesture to show support for Tibet and its people.
We can see Sweden and China, they have ties, centuries-old ties between both the countries. So do you think your visit will have some effect on relations between China and Sweden?
I don't know, but for us, we are parliamentarians, we are supporting democracy, we are supporting the Swedish people, we are supporting international relations, we are not discriminating anybody, but we are also supporting people's rights, we are supporting human rights, we are supporting peace, democracy. Sweden is well known for that, and we will continue to do so. And when it comes to China, I hope there can be a dialogue with China about how developing, and I know that these discussions are on the table in United Nations. I think that's an important area. I know it's also the discussion in European Union. We are a part of European Union. When it comes to foreign policies, it's not always that the 27 small countries in European Union have so much impact by ourselves, but as a union, there is a higher impact, and that's also an arena where Sweden take part together with the rest of the Nordic countries, and as I said, Sweden is among 27 European countries, and there is where we discuss also international relations.
I just Thank you. I just want to underline that we are representatives. We live in a democracy. We believe in the democratic system. We believe in democracy. And for us, of course, it's important to support people all over the world and make sure that they, if possible, get a chance to live in democratic countries as well. Of course, we support people who strive to live in a democratic society where they have the chance to be their own rulers, so to say. It's really important for us. So we cannot back down.
No.
We believe in democracy. So.
Yes.
Hello, my name is Matthias Björnstedt, and I'm chairman of the Swedish Tibet Committee, a Tibetan support group that's been struggling for the Tibetan people for over 50 years. And so I'm not a parliamentarian, and my wife Christine is not either. And we'd like to thank the Tibetan administration for inviting us, and we see our role as to assist the parliamentarians in reaching the information they need to understand this situation. And I think the Tibetan administration has done a really professional job in preparing this and also being very flexible when we've run into some problems. And I find the parliamentarians are very keen and eager and sincere. So I'm very happy about this trip so far. And if we take a step back, as you said before, sir, there is a problem that the Tibetan conflict isn't reaching out in media, and that's something that we take very seriously in our organization. And something also that we take part of the responsibility for, that we're not getting the message out to the people. If we take an example, the most brutal example we can take is the colonial boarding schools, which when we hear about such things that happened in Canada or Australia 100 years ago, we're disgusted, and it's happening right now in Tibet, and it doesn't awaken any interest in media whatsoever. So that's an example of how the Tibetan conflict has really gone under the radar like no other conflict on the world. I would say it's probably the most under-reported conflict there is, or humanitarian crisis. So hopefully this will be a way to amend that fact. And so we accept some responsibility. Media is also not doing their job, I believe. They should be looking into this more. And I have to also give some responsibility to my cherished parliamentarians here, that it's also their responsibility to be one step ahead and to know about these very, very terrible facts and to bring them up in parliamentary debate. So I'm convinced that this trip will make a huge influence in the parliament, and I'm very thankful for everyone involved. So, thank you.
And I can mention here, as it was said about the boarding school, that our Swedish Prime Minister have also raised this issue in various debates, not in Parliament, but when he have been at other places. And that's nothing that we stand behind as a country, and we a system where children are brought away from their families, from their parents, without acceptance, allowance from the parents. That is a terrible act, and it's good that it's brought up, because this shouldn't happen. The kids should be brought back to their families, and those who do the act should be held responsible.
Thank you. I would like to add something. As you have noticed, we are several parliamentarians. We come from different regions in Sweden, and we also represent different parties. That means that this journey means a lot of learning for us. And when we go back in our constituencies, we will be able also to raise the situation of Tibet and the exiled government and all these different issues that have been touched today in another way. And in that way, we will also increase the knowledge among the Swedish population. I agree in what was stated before, that the Tibetan situation has been very underestimated, and people don't know very much about it. Everyone knows about Dalai Lama, and everyone cherishes his work very much with peace, but they don't know very much about the Tibetan situation. And by this, we will all be able to raise the knowledge among Swedes in general. Thank you.
I'm Tenzin, and I'm from Department of Information. So my question would be about the future status of the Tibetan issue. So right now His Holiness the Dalai Lama is 88, nearing into 90. So he have agreed to live for more than 20 to 30 years. However, he won't be here forever, right? So, will the international community respect and revere 15th Dalai Lama as same as the 14th Dalai Lama? So this is my question. And with regard to the reincarnation of His Holiness Dalai Lama, what's the Swedish government stand on that? Since the Chinese government is already, interfering into the selection of 15th Dalai Lama. So, and this is my second question. And thirdly, I would like to ask if you have any, message for Tibetans inside Tibet. Since some of our media, directly streaming the radio frequency inside Tibet. So, do you have any message to Tibetans inside Tibet? Thank you.
Thank you for your question. When it comes to Dalai Lama, I think this is a question for the Tibet people. I hope that His Holiness, the 14th Dalai Lama, will have a long life and it will continue for decades after today. And it will be possible for all of us to meet with him again, and that his leadership for the Tibetan people will continue for a lot of years forward. I think his advice is very important. I think his wisdom is important. But what will happen after, that's not, I can't say. It's something for the Tibetan people, it's for Dalai Lama, and I think it's wise to not talk too much about what will happen afterwards, because we know that it's a lot of interest in this, and I hope that the Tibetan people can continue to stay together, to be united, and find another leader who is wise and can lead forward. But right now, I see Dalai Lama as a leader that I hope will be here for decades forward. When your other question was about
Swedish government's position.
The Swedish government's position, it stands that a support of the middle way. The middle way, that's also on initiative by His Holiness Dalai Lama. It means that it's also accepted by the Kazakh and the parliament, and I think that it says that geographically solution is China, but the culture, the identity, the language, it's the Tibetan people. And I think that's a very important issue. But let me also say that even in my country, we have Sami people who have a long tradition in Sweden. They are nomads, and we have had a history that's not too positive for Sweden, but we have found a way forward where there is an apologize for how they have been treated. They have the right for their tradition, for their language, for their culture. They have their reindeers, which is very important for the Sami people, for their way of living. And they have also a Sami parliament where they are working with their responsibility in the Sami parliament is Sami issues, Sami-related issues that goes together with them. I know that the Sami people, they are not only in Sweden, they are in Norway, they are in Finland, they are in Russia, and the Sami people have worked together and also had international gathering where they have discussed common issues. I don't think that the Russian Sami people are that active. If I am informed correct, they are not allowed to take part any longer from the regime. But the Sami people in the 3 other countries, they are still gathering and they are taking care about issues belonging to the Sami people. And I hope that the Tibetan people can get this right as well, and that it can be possible to live in Tibet, a Tibet that is respect the Tibetan people, where the Tibetan people have the right to their language, to their culture, to their ways of living, and to democracy, of course. I see it as very important. And this is very much, even if we are not talking about the middle way in Sweden, we see that it's a lot of similarities, and the main issue in the middle way is also in our way of looking on the future for Tibet. But we are supporting democracy, absolutely.
I also want to say this, that it's, if I understood your question correctly, it's not really up to the Swedish government to decide what you're supposed to do. It's definitely not up to the Chinese government to choose. It's up to yourselves. And hopefully the Swedish government will support whatever path you choose. So it's your decision. So, thank you.
My last question. So, what kind of impact do you hope to achieve through your advocacy work in Sweden and particularly in the international stages?
Our work, what we prioritize when it comes to Tibet, yes, I think we will raise the awareness about the situation in Tibet. We will raise awareness about Tibet's rights for language, for culture, for identity and democracy. This is very important issues for us. We will also work together, of course, inside European Union, because it's stronger with 27 countries than just one. And we will, as was said here, bring the knowledge we have from here with us in our constituencies when we meet with the Swedish citizens, and continue in the debate to raise Tibet issue. And I can just mention a few years ago, before COVID, I met with the Chinese delegation in the parliament. They were visiting Sweden. It was not only me, it was in my committee. And I asked them about Tibet. I raised the question about Tibet, and I will continue to do that, because the worst thing that can be done is to be quiet, and we shouldn't be quiet. We should use our voice.
Well, thank you all for being here and letting us have this opportunity. My thoughts on what we want to achieve is also to be a voice of support, of that you're not forgotten, that the Tibetan cause is still alive around the world, and also to I think your question, if there was something we wanted to say to the Tibetans inside Tibet, and that is also the message of support and that they're not being alone, that we're many out here who wants them to feel that we see them, we know that they are struggling, as you're all here, and that there are many people around the world. And another question was about, will we continue to support after His Holiness? His voice might not be here to be heard so loudly anymore. And I think that is up to us, as Matthias also said. We have to all take the responsibility to carry this message and to be the bearer of the message. And so for all and for us, we have to keep up hope and be the bearer of hope and support for your cause. We will continue to do that. So thank you so much.
And when it comes to Tibet, even if the border is closed, we are with the Tibetan people, and we will continue to be with them. And I also say that we know it's a difficult life, but we hope that you continue to look forward and that you bring with you the wisdom of His Holiness Dalai Lama. And all of us are very, very sad every time we reach the sad news about self-demolition. I really hope that we will research anything more about such desperate acts, because every human life is holy and we should all have the right to continue our life. Thank you.
I also just want to say one more thing, and that is that, as Margrethe said earlier, that we are representatives from 4 different parties in the parliament, and we might have, or we do have, different views in many ways and on a lot of issues. But we do agree on this when it comes to our support for Tibet, and I think that's a strong message. So I think we can do quite a lot of difference if we really put our mind into it. So, and I think we will. So, thank you.
And we look forward to meet the Tibetan people in Tibet, and we hope it will be in close future.
So I would like to thank Honorable Margaret Elizabeth Cederfelt and the members of the Swedish Parliament delegation for addressing and meeting with the press, the Tibetan media persons, and we have a couple of our press media persons from the Indian fraternity as well. So as I said at the beginning, we highly value your support. We highly value your support because we have nothing to offer you in return. The only thing is we stand for justice, truth. That is our only kind of asset. So it is highly valuable that you have come all the way from Sweden to be with us to celebrate the Tibetan Democracy Day and also address the members of press here. So it is not only about the Tibetans in diaspora, the Tibetans living inside Tibet who are facing the operation from the Chinese authorities on daily basis. And I think this will give a sense of encouragement, inspiration, a sense of hope for them, that the Tibetans are not being forgotten by the world. So it is highly important and highly valuable for us. And we thank you again for sparing your time and meeting with the members of press in Dharamshala. Thank you very much. Thank you very much on behalf of all the press members present here. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.